Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, has hit a new low. I know. How can the GOP sink any lower? But they continue to surprise me every day with a bottomless pit of pathetic. Mitch McConnell has thrown all his principles aside and now supports Donald Trump for president. Yes, the same Donald Trump that has blasted McConnell countless times and even makes racist remarks about his wife. During a Sunday interview on CBS, Mitch's hypocrisy was called out right to his face. Watch how he squirms when pressed about his support for Donald Trump.
Since the past few months have passed, in our last conversation, you've endorsed him for re-election.
You need to get better research. I was asked that question 3 years ago. If he were the nominee, would I support him?
And you said you would support whoever the nominee
yes,
was.
Because the voters of my party across the country have made a decision. As the Republican leader of the Senate, obviously I'm going to support the nominee of our party.
Now look, I have to pause this for a second because I get this, right? If the voters choose Donald Trump, then you got to find a way as a Republican leader to get behind him. But good Lord, Donald Trump has been terrible for business for the Republicans. He cost them the 2018 midterms. In 2020, he lost to Joe Biden. And in the 2022 midterms, Republicans got absolutely pounded on when history says that they should have whooped on the Democrats. We, as the Democrats, defended every single statewide seat except one, the governorship in Nevada. Republicans should have picked up a bunch of seats in the House. Instead, they got a tiny little majority, and most of their Senate candidates lost. In fact, we picked up a seat in the Senate with John Fetterman in Pennsylvania. An absolute nightmare for the Republicans, but yet they continue to support this guy, Donald Trump, to their detriment. It is incredible to watch.
But you have taken stands on issues you feel are of strong national security interests and morally imperative. That was your argument on Ukraine. And that you were bucking, in some ways, a populist opinion. So on this one, I'm just wondering how you explain that when you say it was good enough for a number of Republicans that he be the nominee. Because that is the populist opinion. It's not taking the position that he has, he doesn't live up to the role.
The issue.
He has a principled position on Ukraine that goes against the grain and what's popular in the Republican Party. If the Republican Party had its way and listened to the voters, there would be no funding for Ukraine. But Mitch McConnell knows how important it is to help fund our strategic partner in Ukraine in their fight against Russia, since they're on the front line of democracy. But yet he's willing to abandon his principles when it comes to somebody like Donald Trump. Curious.
What kind of influence, even if I'd chosen to get involved in the presidential election, what kind of influence would I have had?
You're one of the most powerful Republicans.
I'm the Republican leader of the Senate. What we do here is try to make law. I like us to be in the majority.
Your worldview seems more aligned with Joe Biden when it comes to American leadership in these global conflicts than with Donald Trump,
I certainly
who
wouldn't
has spoken against Volodymyr Zelensky, who has not endorsed the package that you just worked so hard to get over the finish line.
I love that she's calling him out right to his face. It looks like your principles don't match up with the direction that Donald Trump wants to take this country. Why in the world would you want him to be president? Why are you supporting him? And look, I understand why. They're terrified of this guy and his base. One post on Truth Social can make your life miserable as a Republican leader. But Republicans, if they had their way, they would stop funding Ukraine. Russia would win that conflict, and then the United States would have to send troops to Eastern Europe to protect our NATO allies, and Republicans could point to that and say, we are on the verge of World War III, and it's all Joe Biden's fault. And so it shows you Republicans are willing to put their party over not only America's interests, since Ukraine is on the front lines of democracy, but also they're willing to sacrifice U.S. soldiers in a possible hot conflict with Russia, all to gain political power. And people like Mitch McConnell are enabling this behavior by not standing up to Donald Trump, by not demanding better from the leadership of their party, all out of fear. And this is why I say they have no spine, they have no principles, but I don't think the American people will reward the Republicans for this behavior. The American people want calm leadership. They are sick of chaos. They want competent leaders like Joe Biden and the Democrats who can compromise and work with everybody to come up with solutions for our problems. And the Republicans refuse to go down that road. They are just playing games. They're not serious actors. And if they keep this up, they're going to be out of power for a long time to come. Just watch.